Welcome everyone to History Gone Wilder, part of Half History Will Travel. I'm your host, the Wilder historian, Dr. Lucas Wilder, and last time, when we left Beauregard, he was commanding troops around Manassas in anticipation of a Union advance on his position. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, join the Patreon page, and purchase something from one of my online stores. Every little bit helps. Thank you. While preparing his troops for an impending federal push south, Beauregard experienced a multitude of supply troubles, particularly with the Commissary General of the Confederacy. Beauregard at one point requested rope from him, but was informed that all available rope belonged to the Navy. Angrily, Beauregard said if they would only send us less law and more rope. An aide asked, "To hang ourselves with, General?" Beauregard replied, "It would be better than strangulation with red tape." During his time around Manassas, Beauregard wrote fantastical plans for attacking the Union and submitted them to President Jefferson Davis. These plans focused on concentrating the forces under himself and Joseph E. Johnston, defeating each enemy army in detail, then launching a grand campaign through Maryland and approach Washington, D.C. from the rear. Davis shot down his idea. Historian T. Harry Williams explained Beauregard's problem when he wrote, "In assuming a mobility for the Confederate forces that they did not have, Beauregard showed a fatally weak sense of logistics. His plan told much of Beauregard as a soldier. Influenced by Napoleon and Jomini, he always advocated concentration. In the general or fundamental sense, he was right. If the numerically inferior Confederates were going to win in Virginia or elsewhere, they would have to concentrate. He saw this. Davis did not. Beauregard's trouble was that he did not know how to fashion a specific plan of concentration that would work. When he tried, the result, as in this case, approached the level of fantasy. Reports began to file in mid-July, that a Union army led by Irvin McDowell was leaving Washington, D.C. and proceeding south, toward Beauregard's position. General Johnston in the Shenandoah Valley prepared his men to join Beauregard, and together they planned to defeat the invading army and throw it back to the capital. On the night of July 19th, Beauregard held a council with his officers, and as it broke up, the general said, "Now, gentlemen, let tomorrow be their Waterloo." The next day, most of Johnston's force arrived, and Beauregard met with Johnston. The Virginian was tired from his exertions, and asked Beauregard to write up the battle plan for the next day. Through the night, Beauregard created a written order that confounded its readers. In the first half, he called his units brigades, but halfway through he realized that individual brigades would be too hard to coordinate, so he listed them as divisions, with 2 brigades in each division, but no division organization had ever been set up. He also left open the names of commanders who would control certain troops, and just produced a generally confounding attack plan. When Johnston got it the next morning, he found that Beauregard's name was on it, as it was coming from him instead of Johnston. Nevertheless, Johnston signed it, but the plan never got realized. Early on July 21st, the Union attacked. McDowell's army assaulted Beauregard and Johnston's left flank. During the battle, Beauregard wrote up and distributed 2 more attack plans, hoping to assail the Union left flank with his own right, but those plans and orders to the various brigade commanders didn't reach all of the desired commanders. Some attempted to follow the first battle plan, others the second, and those who received the third attempted to make sense of the confusion of orders. When the sounds of battle began to rage on the left, Johnston told Beauregard that he was going to where the battle was, and the 2 generals rode off for the left, after ordering the reserve units on the right to head in that direction too. The units on the left were in various states. Some stood firm, others shattered, and some cast about without any direction. Beauregard began to take the flags of the shattered units and advance them about 40 yards in front of the units, then had the soldiers form around their colors. Beauregard urged Johnston to return to the rear and direct movements from there, and to send units as needed. Johnston left, and Beauregard remained on the field to direct the battle on the left. Encouraging the commander of the Washington Artillery of New Orleans, he said, "Then hold this position, and the day is ours." 3 cheers for Louisiana. When the standard of a South Carolina unit fell, he cried, "Hand it to me, let me bear the palmetto flag." To a Georgia regiment he shouted, "I salute the 8th Georgia with my hat off. History shall never forget you." One observer said later that if Beauregard were ever painted, it should be as he appeared that day, eyes flaming, the sallow face blazing with enthusiasm, the drawn sword pointing to the enemy. His horse was killed under him. He calmly took another. During the course of the day, he rode 4, one of which was a captured Yankee steed. When reinforcements in the form of Jubal Early's brigade came to the field, Beauregard sent it to the left of his line, and it advanced on the Federal position, breaking it. Beauregard watched as the Yankees scurried away across the field. Happy with his work, he rode to Johnston's position and informed him of the victory. Discussion about a pursuit came up, and a half-hearted attempt was made. Soon President Davis made it to the field. He met with both Beauregard and Johnston. Davis wanted a pursuit launched against the retreating foe, but the late hour and other factors convinced him otherwise. On July 22nd, Johnston told Davis that he believed Beauregard should be promoted. Davis told him that he had thought the same thing. Davis, Johnston, and Beauregard ate breakfast. Davis handed him a letter. It read, "Appreciating your services in the Battle of Manassas and on several other occasions during the existing war, as affording the highest evidence of your skill as a commander, your gallantry as a soldier, and your zeal as a patriot, you are appointed to be general in the Army of the Confederate States of America, and with the consent of the Congress, will be duly commissioned accordingly." Now, only 4 men outranked Beauregard in the top military hierarchy: Samuel Cooper, Albert Sidney Johnston, Robert E. Lee, and Joseph E. Johnston. The South cheered the new general, wrote poems and songs about him in newspapers, and sent him letters praising his abilities. One can only imagine the thrill the general got when reading the letters declaring him the next Napoleon. Beauregard seemed to get more credit for Manassas than Johnston, irritating the latter. Following First Manassas, Beauregard began a verbal war with the Confederate government, specifically the Davis administration. He sent a letter to friends in the Confederate Congress and intended for his friends to read it to the other legislators. Those men called a secret session together and read Beauregard's letter. It said, in part, "The want of food and transportation has made us lose all the fruits of our victory. We ought at this moment to be in or about Washington. God only knows when we will be able to advance. Without these means, we can neither advance nor retreat. From all accounts, Washington could have been taken up to the 24th instant by 20,000 men. Only think of the brilliant results we have lost by the 2 causes referred to." Angrily, Congress called on Davis to answer for the lack of supplies and transportation to the Confederate Army under Beauregard. Davis fought back, saying that a lot of the problems was Beauregard's inefficient way of requisitioning. Beauregard and Davis exchanged a series of letters where both men acted cordial enough. For the moment, the President and the General were on decent terms with one another. Around Manassas, Beauregard lived lavishly, receiving famous guests, like Prince Jerome Bonaparte, who came over from the Union lines. The 2 men spoke French to each other and drank juleps made by the South Carolinians on Beauregard's staff. Despite the amusement he found around his headquarters, Beauregard sought action and hated the sedentary actions of Johnston. He went close to the Potomac River and could see the enemy capital. He suggested to Johnston that they needed to invade Maryland, draw the enemy out into the open, and defeat them on their own ground. This, he believed, would result in the Confederacy fully gaining its independence. Johnston, Beauregard, and Davis met to discuss such a movement. The 2 generals requested their army increased to 60,000 men to launch such an endeavor, but Davis said he couldn't supply them with that many, and even if he couldn't supply them with weapons. With that, Beauregard realized that the army wouldn't move from its spot until after winter passed, so he sent a letter requesting to be transferred to New Orleans, or some other threatened point.